Oshkosh Media is government programming on GovTV, community programming on Life TV, and community radio on Oshkosh FM 101.9.
Welcome to the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report, a look at city updates and municipal news, and a preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda.
Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the City Manager's Report. I'm your host, John Urban. Joining me as usual, City Manager for the City of Oshkosh, Mark Roloff. Mark, thanks for being with us again.
Great to be here, John.
We're going to be talking about the upcoming Tuesday, December 10th, Oshkosh Common Council meeting. We're going to be talking about some of the highlights at the meeting. And just a reminder, you can watch that meeting live here on GovTV. You can stream it live on oshkoshmedia.org, or you can listen to the simulcast live on WOCT 101.9 FM. Before we get to the meeting, though, of course, the meeting highlights, we'd like to talk about a few of the things happening here in the city. And one thing that, of course, was a very scary situation happened earlier this week was the officer-involved shooting at Oshkosh West, Mark. And this is something that, of course, involved one of our own police officers.
Yeah, it was. One of our, they're called school resource officers, SROs. The name's now out. It's SRO Mike Wissink. He's been at Oshkosh West for a number of years. And he was confronted by a student with a weapon. Both were injured in the process and taken to the hospital. I'm happy to report Officer Wissink is recuperating, but he's still got a little ways to go in getting certain things fixed. Because of the incident, because our officer is technically a victim of a crime, we cannot be investigating it. So the State Department of Criminal Investigations has taken the lead on investigating this, and Chief Smith was reporting to the media about some of the information that we had at the time, but DCI, everything's turned over to them, so we're essentially out of the loop. All we are is essentially the employer of the victim in this case, so they're doing the investigation, and when they deem things appropriate to take action, prosecution or recommend prosecution, they'll take care of that. But right now our thoughts and prayers are with Officer Wissink and his family, and we wish him the best. Mike's a great officer, and we're looking forward to having him come back.
Right. Okay, we're now going to turn our attention to some other news happening here in the city of Oshkosh. The Wisconsin DOT bridge, we've been hearing about the bridge closure for some time, but now we have a pretty good idea it's going to happen in January, and then it's going to be shut down for some time.
It is. Just reminding everybody, we're doing our best to let people know about this project, but it is a Wisconsin Department of Transportation project. So this is a little video from Highway 21, the bridge itself, and it's going to be closed starting in January. The exact date is not known yet because they literally just opened the bids the other day, so they're working with the contractor who's been selected, but it will be a total closure for up to 5 to as much as 6 months. The idea is that they want to get as much work done so that boat traffic can go through when the boating season starts, but you need to make alternative plans. If you're going to be normally traveling Oshkosh Avenue, you're going to need to make alternate plans. We'll have signs, or there will be signs out there. The DOT will get signs out there. We're working with local businesses to make sure that they get that the public gets directed to their businesses a little better as well. We want to make sure that happens. But it's going to begin in January. There is a website that the DOT has that sets up. So I encourage people to take a look at the website. It's specifically one for the Oshkosh Avenue Bridge project. So keep an eye out for that. And as time gets out there, our friends here at Oshkosh Media will get information out to make people aware of it. But be on the lookout, because when it happens, you'll probably get noticed, probably about a week in advance, but no more than that.
It'll be a big project, as you said. There'll be a lot of promotion about this, and I think it's going to be one of those things that we'll all probably forget exactly until we come up to it and we see the signage, and then we'll remember from there. Boy, I gotta find an alternative route. So again, that's going to be starting sometime in January. through the early part of the summer, up to maybe June or so. Huh?
Yeah, that's what we're guessing. So yeah, hang in there with it. We'll all get through it.
Okay. All right. Tax bills, not something we all like to talk about at this time of year, but it is coming. Tax bills are going to be expected out sometime next week.
Probably early next week. So January 9th or 10th, they should be making their way out. That's
December 9th or 10th.
December. Thank you. December 9th or 10th. Thank you for that. Yeah, you'll get them plenty early.
Okay. Now, we always like to reiterate how people can pay their tax bills. They have a variety of options that they could pursue. You can certainly go to the lobby at City Hall, but if you don't want to wait in line, there's all kinds of other places to go as well.
Well, of course, you can always mail them in, and as long as you get them postmarked by the due date, as long as they're in that postmark situation, you're going to be fine. But you can also, in addition to paying them at City Hall during our normal business hours, Associated Bank, both locations, the one on Murdoch and the one on Sawyer are available. Community First Credit Union, their South Park location or their Westtown location, those are all there. And there's also the ability to pay online, and it won't be available until after you get your bill. So you can't pay early. It's just please wait for your bill to come. But there's the link there that you can pay online as well.
All right. And again, if you have any questions, you can call the Finance Department, 236-5005, for any questions on the tax bills. This is also the time of the year with the meetings where we talk about the winter and holiday updates as it relates to city services. We know that there's garbage pickup. People always want to know what's happening with that in terms of over the holidays, recycling and so forth, as well as Go Transit. So let's kind of go through the list, starting with when is City Hall going to be closed during the holidays?
Well, City Hall is going to be closed on Tuesday and Wednesday, December 24th and 25th. So no bill paying there, although we have a drop box that's secure. You can drop it off if you need to. And New Year's Day will also be closed. So those are the 3 days that City Hall will be closed. New Year's Eve, you'll be able to drop it off, and I know that's when a lot of people want to get it in at the last minute for property tax payment. You'll be able to do it, and we'll be open to accept that.
Okay, and then garbage collection?
Garbage collection, no recycling or garbage collection on Christmas Day, December 25th, or New Year's Day, January 1st. Your collection day will be 1 day later, and if you're a Friday collection, that'll be flipped over to Saturday.
Okay.
And the yard waste drop-off site is closed for the holidays, so we encourage people to don't worry about the yard waste during that time. You can take a look at our website for details on our winter hours, because we have changed now that it's December.
And then what about Go Transit bus service during the holidays?
Same thing, no bus service on December 25th or January 1st. So we will have service on New Year's Eve, or Christmas Eve, and New Year's Eve. So be on the lookout for those. But those 2 days we're going to be out of service, Christmas and New Year's.
All right, next item, the former Little Oshkosh Playground, that has been now replaced with a new playground and new playground equipment. But many of the surplus items from the former playground of Little Oshkosh, which was a great project 20-some years ago, have been placed on the Oshby website, the surplus website.
Yeah, there's a lot of nostalgia associated with the Little Oshkosh project. And some people who are now adults may have some artwork or something that they participated in as part of the project. And so we can't guarantee that everything that was done there is available, because some things did get
just couldn't be salvaged.
That's probably the nicest way to put it. But some of these treasures are there, and if you belong to any of those, we don't have any records of whose artwork this was or not. But I'd encourage you, if you think you may have done something with the Little Oshkosh project years ago, encourage you to look at Oshby. It's there, and the sales open until Sunday, December 15th. So you can put bids in, and I think we request whole dollar amounts.
Whole dollar amount increments,
so
right.
You can start at $1 or $2, but some of these are going to be worth a lot. So, and if it's yours or a loved one's, you're probably going to want to get it, but we don't know who they are, so you got to bid through Oshby.
And I believe there's 50 or 56 items that they were able to salvage, and whatever they were able to salvage is on the Oshby website right now. So again, go to the Oshby website and put a bid in if you like any of those items. Certainly all kinds of of things there if you'd like to remember part of whatever happened with your involvement with the particular little Oshkosh playground. That's the website there. You can see the Oshkosh Surplus online auction. So again, it's just like an eBay kind of a website. People are probably familiar with it, but if they're not, you go on there. You can submit a bid. And the deadline is the December 15th. So as it goes along, if you want to raise your bid, you can just keep putting another dollar in there.
And Oshby has a lot of other surplus things from the city. And if you're interested in Oshby in general, it's not just about this project. There's so many other things. So I'd encourage you to take a look at what's available on Oshby if you're that type of picker and you want to go find some treasures that treasures to you, but mostly trash to us after all these years.
Okay. All right. This is the last formal city manager's report in the formal sense because we have no council meetings after the December 10th meeting. But you do tape your top 10 program, which I've not been involved with for several years now. Emily's always done that. She'll be back at the end of this year. But the big top 10 show is coming up on December 19th, I believe. It
sure is. And appreciate all the input that we got from the public to give us ideas, and some really good ideas that we did receive. So we're planning and getting all the video ready from everything we've done in 2019 to do our top 10. It's a lot of fun to do this project, just to let people know what we think are some of the top stories that we covered here on City Manager's Report, things that happened in the city. So starting December 19th, be on the lookout for the top 10. If you want to guess what they are, throw it out there on our social media page. Let us know. But appreciate having the input. Gave us a lot of good ideas. And I think if you've made some suggestions, you might just see them in the top 10.
And this is an award-winning program traditionally, correct?
Well, yeah. Since you stopped doing the show and Emily did, we've had really good ratings. We've always been well regarded amongst our peers in the state and throughout the Midwest for our programming. And the City Manager's Report Top 10 show has gotten some accolades in recent years. But it's fun. It really is. It's looking back on a successful year and things that we're proud of. And I think community pride means a lot when you're doing these shows.
Well put. All right. It is now time for the question mark segment of the City Manager's Report. So let's roll that intro. All right. So the question that we received is why would the city sell property for $1 when it's worth a lot more? And I'm just going to guess here that there's just a lot more involved with a piece of property than just the purchase price alone. To develop it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime that we don't sell all our properties for $1, that's a misnomer that some people believe. But there are some properties that we do sell for $1, and essentially those are in redevelopment areas where there's a history of poor soil conditions, contamination, and while it may have a market value, there is so much remediation that is required to make that development occur. Somebody could go get a comparable sized parcel somewhere else, and it would actually be cheaper to develop, say, out by Highway 41 or something, because it's just there's no additional cost to clean up the site. So you could argue that while it may have a certain market value, it actually has negative value because you have to put so much money into taking care of soil remediation, contaminated soil. And with our industrial history along the river and downtown, we have a lot of sites that are contaminated. So while we may have paid a certain price for it, in reality, to get it redeveloped, to get anybody interested, we have to essentially give it away so that they will put the money into the site to get that rehabilitated so it's in a developable condition. But I mean, it's a legitimate question that people have. But when it has really what we technically call negative value, you're essentially giving it away. But that's what happened with a lot. We just had some proposals for some properties on South Main Street, market value. So it's not always the case. It's just when we've got some unique circumstances, and usually has to do with contamination.
And as you said, if you didn't put the $1 price tag, it may never have gotten developed because no one would have been willing to take it on.
Right, because you can pay a couple $100,000 and have absolutely no problem with a property out along Interstate 41. And if you, and it's like, well, why would I want to buy it down here when I can go buy it way out there? Well, then we'll never get anything developed in the downtown area, and it'll just make it look worse. So, we have some areas that are challenging, and that's why they take a long time to sell too. And then they say, it took you so long, you only sold it for $1. Why were you holding out? It's like, we're not holding out for the price, we're holding out for the right person that's willing to incur those additional costs to make this all happen. So we certainly appreciate that, and it's our way to entice people to come downtown.
Well, that's a great question for Mark. And again, if you have a question for Mark, we'd certainly like to hear it. Mark loves to get those questions, so you can send your question to us on Facebook, Twitter, and of course you could email us. Twitter, of course, City of Oshkosh, Facebook at Oshkosh Media's Facebook, and question mark at ci.oshkosh.wi.us if you'd like to email that to us. All right, well, that wraps up sort of the highlights we've got from city news and notes before we go into the break here. When we come back from the break, we're going to continue on with the highlights of the upcoming Tuesday, December 10th, Oshkosh Common Council meeting. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more of the City Manager's Report right after this.
Hello, I'm City Manager Mark Roloff. Roundabouts are new to many of us in Oshkosh, so we have to take extra precaution when using them. Remember, safety is the key. Slow down. The speed limit in the roundabout is only 15 miles an hour. Avoid distractions. Focus all your attention on navigating the roundabout. Find the proper lane. Check out the signage leading up to the roundabout. Choose your lane assignment early and stay in your lane. Evaluate the situation. Take notice of what kind of vehicles are in front of you. Sometimes larger trucks need to take up both lanes of a roundabout. Think to look for pedestrians and allow them to cross when entering and exiting a roundabout. Yield to traffic on your left. You must yield to all traffic in the roundabout, and that traffic will be coming from your left. Again, safety is the key. Remember that word and what those letters represent, and your roundabout driving experience will be a smooth one. Thanks for your support.
Welcome back to the City Manager's Report. I'm your host, John Urban. We're now going to be talking about some of the highlights for the upcoming Tuesday, December 10th, Oshkosh Common Council meeting. That meeting will be seen here live on GovTV. Also want to encourage you can stream it live on oshkoshmedia.org, or you can listen to it live, the simulcast, on WOCT Radio 101.9 FM. So, Mark, as we look at the agenda, some things we want to start talking about right away. Under the presentation section, there's a presentation on world relief, and it's apparently a federal government executive order now to report on these?
Yeah, World Relief is the local nonprofit entity that assists in assimilating refugees that are relocated to our area, to assimilate them into our society. And there's a new executive order that is effectively requiring local units of government to say they'll accept the refugees to come into our area. We're actually the Fox cities from Oshkosh up to Appleton, the general area there. We're the second largest area after Milwaukee to take in refugees. So the issue is do we ask to accept these refugees again? We've actually had good experiences with the refugee community. We go back over 30, almost 40 years now, accepting refugees from Southeast Asia, from Africa, from all over the place. Right now, we have a big need for employees, and a lot of the refugee community serves as a great base for starting salaries that some other people may not want. But there's also concerns about the drag it can put on our nonprofit and human service agencies. Not so much with us at the city, but certainly the schools, there's a little demand there. So I know there's some concerns from people. And before we consider signing on to say, yes, we'll accept refugees again, I think it's appropriate that we consider that. But we have to make sure that some of those issues are addressed. And Tammy McLaughlin, who's the local director of our World Relief Agency, will be there to answer questions for council so that they have some assurances about how refugees are assimilated into our community, what support they get, what demands may be put on local governments, meaning county, school district, and the city, and just have that discussion so that we're all aware of how this works.
All right, sounds good. We're now going to be moving to the consent agenda, some of the highlights there. There's 2 items in the consent agenda that are really one item, and that's talking about this installing of landfill gas venting. And this kind of goes back decades about when there used to be a landfill in this area that's under question, right?
Yeah, this area in question is known as the Keenest Paulus landfill. For those of you who haven't been here for 50 years, that's around the area of Knapp and 17th. You can see that. It's just south of Quarry Park. Quarry Park was also filled in as a landfill. These were areas that after the quarrying was done, they became landfills. So even though we didn't operate this landfill, there was some municipal waste over the years that went there, and essentially we ultimately bear the responsibility for this area because of the municipal waste, a part of which was there. We got a settlement from the property owners there to help us with some of the costs associated with it, but this is not cheap. To vent the methane gas out of this area, which is absolutely essential from a safety standpoint, there's enough methane gas here that could be of explosive nature. And some people may recall in the 70s, there was an explosion on the west side of Knapp between South Park and 17th, just north of Shapiro School. There was an explosion and a house was damaged severely. Those areas, we want to make sure that doesn't happen again. So the city actually purchased a few houses surrounding that area that you saw, and we're going to put in a venting system that will actively extract methane gas out of that area and make it safer. And we'll continue to do that as long as methane is generated out there.
And you've been working on this for several years now, right?
Yeah, I mean, we first had to talk to all the neighbors and let them know that this was a real issue. We put monitoring devices out there around all the homes, and I think we're buying several homes out there because it's no longer safe for them to be there within parameters of safety.
Okay. Item 12 under consent agenda, the fire department is getting 2 more engines.
Yeah, we have a scheduled replacement for one of our fire engines, and then as a result of the staffing study for the fire department, they recommended some changes in what we got for apparatus. So this is another apparatus, having a 5th engine in our fleet. So this is an example of one of them, Pierce fire truck, and we're going to be purchasing 2 fire engines from Pierce. It's over $1.25 million, but these generally last us about 15 years, so we get good value out of them, and they're very necessary for our fire response, and we get a very good deal from Pierce, and so we work with them. They're a local manufacturer, and we're real happy with them.
Item 13 under the consent agenda is to do some repairs at the Best Western Hotel parking ramp, and people might be confused. It's kind of a convoluted sort of setup as to how the city maintains that ramp. They might think it's attached to the hotel, so there's a natural assumption, well, that's the hotel's ramp, but it's not that easy.
It's a very long story, but basically, in order to get some grants almost 50 years ago now, the city agreed to be part of maintaining the garage, which is privately owned. So we maintain it, but we don't pay for the maintenance. There's a surcharge that's on every hotel bill that goes into a fund that we use to fund the improvements. So we've got about $71,000 in improvements, and we're getting these all done, and they're all paid for through that surcharge. So no local tax dollars are being used for these repairs.
All right. Item 14 under the consent agenda, it talks about this Aquahawk software for finance, public works, and information technology.
Well, you may recall going back into the summer when we transferred over to our new billing system, there were some issues, and one of the things that was pointed out, it wasn't the only thing, but certainly letting people know when there's excessive usage on their utility bill and how they can be made aware of it in advance and maybe correct the problem before we send them a bill about it. So this software, we've done some extensive research. Some communities have had great success with essentially you sign up for a service and say, if my usage falls out of this parameter, send me a notice, and then I can
alert. They get
send me an
these
alert.
alerts,
Yeah,
right.
and then we're happy to come out. Our water distribution people will come out and see if we can help you find a leak or anything like that, or where the source of the overusage is. It'll save people money. It'll save us money. And as we learned last summer, we want to make sure that we want people to minimize their billing costs as much as possible.
Okay, under new resolutions, this is something I know we don't like to talk about, and unfortunately this has gone up every year. This is the stormwater utility rate increase.
Well, this is, speaking of utility bills, as we did, the stormwater utility rates are primarily a function of all the work that we do to put capital projects, improvements into stormwater management. After the storms of 2008, I think it was a wake-up call. And our rates have gone up significantly. They've probably doubled in the last 10 years. But the reality is we needed to get these improvements done. So this is just to help pay back those improvements that are going to be with us for many decades. So we still got a long way to go, but we're making really good progress. And somebody may complain, and I understand that. But at the same time, we're addressing flooding issues. And I remember somebody told me, I'm tired of my basement being used as the city's stormwater detention pond. This prevents flooding in your basement. This prevents flooding on your streets, and that's safety for everybody.
Okay, the next item under new resolution we want to talk about, this is something that the city's been working on for some time, for most of this year for sure, which is the approval of the Lakeshore Park Master Plan.
Really exciting, some great public input that we've had. The Smith Group out of Madison did the design lead, did some great public input. We used the Pulco app, we did a lot of different surveys, and some great input. Different boards and commissions helped give advice to Smith Group and our staff. And so now we have a park plan. It really identifies two sections of Lakeshore Park. In one west of where the Oshkosh Corporation headquarters is, and one east. The side to the west between Oshkosh Corporation and Interstate 41 is really more of a passive recreation type of thing. A lot of green space, trails, passive recreation. There aren't any utilities out in that area immediately, so nothing heavy duty out there. On the east side, we're taking advantage of the fact that utilities are there and some needs that we've identified over the years. One of the needs that really came out was the need for a year-round type of shelter facility so that people could have. And then, of course, amenities to complement what we have over at Mary Jewell Park and Rainbow Memorial Park. So a little bit of parking, but some other amenities over there to have it. Again, it's mostly passive recreation, but there'll be some fishing docks over there and things like that. The price tag is pretty hefty. The price tag for this master plan's about $13 million. And we have about $2 million remaining from the sale of Lakeshore after we had to pay off some golf course debt. But we've got about $2 million, so that'll get us started. But this will take time to implement, and we have to be patient. We have to be fiscally responsible. But I'm excited about this plan, and I think if you take a look at it, you're going to see there's a little bit of something for everybody in this, and I'm excited about that.
I'm sure we'll see a lot more of this plan as the years go by in terms of what's going to be next as we go, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Alrighty. Okay, the last item we want to talk about, we have a little bit of time here, is the public input meeting for the Jackson Corridor Study. There's a public meeting coming up in December.
It sure is, on December 11th at 6 p.m. at Oak Lawn Elementary. We're going to have the first of some public meetings. This is about Jackson Street Corridor Plan and Safety Study. So this is really from Interstate 41 all the way into downtown. There's really two areas, south of Murdoch, which is more residential and safety orientation that we have to think about, and then north of Murdoch, where it's really more commercial and things like that. So we want to make sure we address all those issues.
Alrighty, well that wraps up the various highlights of the Oshkosh Common Council December 10th meeting. That meeting can be seen here live on GovTV. You can also stream it live on oshkoshmedia.org. You can listen to it live on the simulcast of WOCT 101.9 FM, so we encourage you to check that out. Make sure to go to Oshkosh Media on Facebook or follow us on Twitter for all your community and government programming and updates, or check out our YouTube channel for government meeting replays and past episodes of your favorite programs. Don't forget, if you have a question for City Manager Mark Roloff, send it to us on Twitter at City of Oshkosh, post it on our Facebook page, or email questionmark@ci.oshkosh.wi.us, and perhaps you'll answer it on the next episode of the City Manager's Report. So, for Mark Roloff, City Manager for the City of Oshkosh, I'm John Urban. Thanks for watching this edition of the City Manager's Report. Have a good night.